It is my privilege to introduce you to our moderator for the evening, who is in front of us as if by magic, if even in the dark. Jim Lehrer, anchor of the much-lauded NewsHour on PBS, is perhaps America's most respected journalist. He brings the news of the day into our homes with careful, thoughtful, and as one reviewer has put it, pathologically impartial treatment. His professionalism makes his the program of choice for newsmakers. Just this week, he has interviewed Secretary Gates, General Petraeus, Ambassador Crocker, 2 senators, 4 representatives. Not bad for 1 week, one incomplete week. He has moderated, in the last 5 presidential elections, 10 debates, enough to be dubbed Dean of the Moderators. So I suppose we could say he has ample experience for tonight's work. The author of 16 novels, 2 memoirs, and 3 plays. His stories take in subjects from bus drivers to Civil War remains to men's haberdasheries. They are written in an hour a day, each and every day. All of this hard work, of course, has brought much acclaim. The National Humanities Medal, 2 Emmys, the George Foster Peabody Broadcast Award, and the William Allen White Award for Journalistic Merit. It has resulted as well in no small celebrity. I read a few days ago clips in the Washington Post about a recent birthday party of a 3-year-old in St. Paul, Minnesota, named Henry Shalley, apparently a rather precocious fan of our moderator. The music the toddler chose for his birthday party was the NewsHour theme. A cake was fashioned in Mr. Lehrer's likeness. I'm sure it was handsome, and it had a great accent. Young Henry, I predict, is eventually destined for the College of William and Mary. We are glad that his hero is already here. Would you please help me welcome the remarkable Jim Lehrer. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. We are indeed gathered here at the College of William and Mary in Virginia to commemorate America's 400th anniversary. The beginning of representative government in the New World was just a few miles away at Jamestown. The Declaration of Rights that transformed colonial subjects into sovereign citizens occurred right here in Williamsburg, a precursor to America's Declaration of Independence. Victory in America's struggle for independence was achieved a few miles in the opposite direction in Yorktown. This is America's historic triangle. This is where America began. And this is where the modern concept of democracy began, an idea that has changed our world. So, 400 years after America began, we have gathered distinguished leaders and delegates from around the world to ask a simple question. The future of democracy, why does it matter? Our questions will come from students from the College of William and Mary and international delegates to the forum itself. The answers will come from former Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court, Sandra Day O'Connor. The first woman to serve on America's highest court, Justice O'Connor is honorary co-chair of America's 400th anniversary and is Chancellor of the College of William and Mary. Ali. and Ali Ansari, professor of Iranian history and director of the Institute of Iranian Studies at the University of St. Andrews in Fife, Scotland. Professor Ansari is the author of numerous books, including Iran, Islam, and Democracy, The Politics of Managing Change. And Lawrence Eagleburger, Larry Eagleburger to his friends, including me, a career diplomat who served as Secretary of State under President George Herbert Walker Bush. Secretary Eagleburger's 27-year career includes leadership foreign policy roles under Presidents Nixon, Carter, and Reagan as well. So let us begin with our questions. The future of democracy. Why does it matter?
Lately, democracies have been electing leaders who appear skeptical of the benefit of a balance of power structure as advocated for by the U.S. Constitution. We see this in Russia with Vladimir Putin, in Iran with Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, and in Venezuela with Hugo Chavez. Are we today seeing the rise of democratic states that do not prescribe to these same principles?
Secretary Eagleburger.
I knew you were going to do that to me. Yes, I think we are seeing a good bit of that, and there is the tendency throughout the world, and even in the democracies, I think, is toward executive authority far more than it is toward a balance of power between two or three executive parts of the balance of government. So yeah, I think she's right. I think we are seeing some of that.
Mr. Ansari?
Well, I think we'd be hard-pressed to take the examples stated by the student as democracies, or fully functioning democracies. I think you could say that they've been in the process of democratizing, but it's certainly true that the whole organization of democracy, one has to be vigilant to ensure that these balances of powers are maintained.
But is the problem, Justice O'Connor, that democracy sometimes results in things we don't approve of?
Well, we know that's true.
I mean, a country...
Any country, even our own, the Congress or a state legislature can enact things that penalize a minority or that do terrible things. Look what happened with all the Jim Crow laws after the Civil War. And state after state enacted legislation to impose a poll tax or to somehow disable African Americans from voting. All kinds of things can happen at the hands of a majority in a democracy. So you need more than just a majority in a Congress or a legislature. You also need an independent judiciary that might be called upon to examine whether the law passed by the Congress or the legislature is constitutional. And sometimes we've even had to change our Constitution, you know. We certainly did after the Civil War to ensure fair treatment as citizens of African Americans.
But do we have a problem when we advocate democracy for the world and a country says, okay, I'll have some of that, and the people go and they vote and they elect people who are tyrants? Then what do we do?
I think there has to be an element of organic growth in various countries around the world, but there are undoubtedly common values that I think people share. I mean, there are
beyond democracy, you mean?
Beyond democracy, yes, absolutely. But democracy as a form of government in the modern age, I think, is increasingly a necessity. As the state becomes more and more powerful and is able to penetrate into individuals' lives, you have to have a system of government which holds the powers that be accountable, that there has to be transparency. I mean, it's more than simply voting. I think in countries like Iran, they have accustomed people to voting, but I don't think they've accustomed people to the notion of civil rights or indeed human rights. I mean, these are things that have yet to be inculcated within society at large, but it's a process that certainly takes time.
But you've just said it, the inculcation over a period of time. That's why